Hello, everybody. Um, I and my buddy Joe English are sending our regards. Today, we would like to do some ACT test answering of the English section together. So, without further ado, let's share our PDF, all right? And let's do this part of the test together. So, it's passage on extremophiles, amazing microbial survivors. Some live in airless seams of burning rocks, miles beneath Earth's surface and around the hydrothermal vents of deep sea volcanoes. All right, so what is the best answer here? No change. B seems comma, blah, blah, blah. C seems of burning. So when you have something like that, the original part of the sentence written has a semicolon, then we have a comma after seams, and then a comma after seams and rock, and one choice without any punctuation. So let's go for that choice, C, without punctuation, and let's read the sentence. If it makes sense, then it is the correct answer. Some live in airless seams of burning rock miles beneath Earth's surface. It makes perfect sense. So C is the best answer. In other words, if an answer goes without punctuation, makes sense without punctuation, then it is the correct answer. Let's go to 62. Others salt encrusted sleep in ancient caverns, comma, waking after centuries to feed and to be bred. So we have two sentences here. Others in ancient uh, caverns. All right. Yes. Yeah. Well, actually, others salt encrusted this, waking after. So actually, it's not two sentences. Others waking after centuries. So it is the same sentence. It's not two sentences. But here the choice is what uh, is not acceptable. The choice that is not acceptable, because it is not. It is one sentence. Others, blah blah blah, waking after this to feed. Others waking to feed. So it is one sentence. If we choose um, one of these choices that is not acceptable, we would choose J, because it uses a period and then starting waking as if it's a new sentence, starting with a gerund or functioning as a noun. So J will be not acceptable because actually the sentence is one sentence and not two sentences. In other words, if we used a period instead of the comma, this will not be acceptable. Others, what are others? Salt encrusted, sleep in ancient caverns, and then full stop, waking after centuries, and blah, blah, blah. Okay? So these would be, or this would be the least acceptable choice. Let's move on to 63. 63 here says, yeah, after centuries to feed and to be bred. Okay? No change for breeding to breed, breeding. Remember, here we have breed, breeding, breed, and the original one to be bred. So all have the verb breed. So our job now is to find which one is the best. Okay? If we read before, a little bit before the underlying portion, we will find waking after centuries to feed and to breed. So this is a question about parallelism, to feed and to breed. Okay? So it's better than saying to be bred because this is in the passive form. We would like to achieve parallelism here, and so C would be the best answer. If we move on to question number 64, it says here from the beginning, Radioactive pools of toxic waste are okay for others to live in, semicolon, even acid cannot kill them. Okay, all right. So what is the best choice here? No change, are okay for others to live in, are all right for others to live in, are home to still others, and suit others to a T, and then semicolon. Okay, are home to still others. So radioactive balls of toxic waste are still are home to still others. Even acid cannot kill them. So H would be the best answer here. Okay, let's move on to 65. 65 starting with, okay, in lightless vacuums and locales, once thought too hot, too cold, or too poisonous. Okay. All right. This is easy. This is like a to achieve a high degree of the adjective. We say too hot, too T double O. Okay, not too the one that precedes the verb, but too meaning too a T double O, which means he has so much of that adjective. He's too tall, for example. He's too short to be a basketball player, for example. So the same thing here, too hot, which is B, too cold or too poisonous. All right, let's move on to 66. Uh, Here he says these single-celled survivors called extremophiles do not merely ensure blah blah blah. The same thing. This question is repeated. It's the tactic here is to search for the answer without any punctuation. The original one has a comma after extremophiles and then G, choice G. So no change is not acceptable. Survivors, comma, called extremophiles, comma, not acceptable. Survivors called extremophiles, yes, this should be the best answer. Um, Sorry, H should be the best answer because survivors called extremophiles um, do not merely, we should not put a comma or anything between the subject, extremophiles, and the verb. So the best answer that achieves this here is, okay, is it between the G and the H? Let's read the whole sentence one more time. These single-cell survivors called extremophiles do not merely, okay, okay. So the survivors do not merely ensure environment. So the survivors are the subject, do not merely is the verb. However, we would like to use an appositive for these survivors. So we should put that between two commas that we can remove the entire phrase. So called extremophiles, it can be used here when it is between two commas. So now it's clear. Between G and H, we would choose G. Okay? Why did we use comma between the subject and the verb? Here, called extremophiles is not the subject, it's an appositive. It's like a parenthetical phrase that can be removed, and then the sentence would read, the single cell survivors do not merely endure environments. That makes sense. So G is the best answer, not H. All right, moving on. Do not merely endure environments too severe for other life forms, semicolon, they thrive in them. So what is the best answer here? Okay, let's read it one more time. Um, do not, yes, do not merely endure environments too severe for life, for other life forms, they thrive in them. So, what is the answer that is not acceptable? Okay, so if we use forms semicolon, that can be acceptable. If we use a dash, they thrive in them. They can be acceptable forms, and then full stop or period, they thrive in them. This could be a sentence, so it's acceptable. The one that is not acceptable is D. So if we read environments too severe for other life forms, they thrive in them without any punctuation, this would be a run-on. Okay, so D would be the least acceptable. Moving on to 68. Okay, heat-loving extremophiles or thermophiles. In this case, they are called thermophiles because of the therm or heat. Flourished in temperatures over 150. So he uses the past tense flourished. And then he says, what is the best choice? No change, were flourishing, had flourished, or flourish in temperatures over 150 degrees Celsius. So he's talking about a fact here. So since this is scientific writing and he's writing about thermophiles saying they thrive in such and such temperature, so we should use the present simple. Okay, so J is the best choice because the present simple, one of the uses is to express either a fact or a habit. So in this case, we are talking about a fact. The fact that extremophiles or thermophiles thrive or flourish in such and such temperatures. Now, moving on to 69. Yellowstone National Park's thermal pools, the park abounding with geysers like Old Faithful. All right, let's read a little bit before. Scientists have collected them from the Yellowstone National Park's thermal pools, the park abounding with geysers like Old Faithful. Okay, no change. Pools, in contrast to the cool depth of Scandinavian George, sea, bulls, natural wonders, blah, 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 and then bulls. So we have all the choices, including bulls, and they have very long sentences, and D is the shortest answer. If we choose the shortest answer and try to read, if it makes sense, then it is the best answer. Let's read using the shortest answer D. Okay, scientists have collected them from the Yellowstone National Park's thermal pools. It makes sense. They collected them from this and this, which is a thermal pool or thermal pool. Yeah, it makes perfect sense. So D is the best answer. Let's move to 70. The writer is considering deleting the following phrase from the preceding sentence and revising the capitalization accordingly. What is that? The part that he wants to uh, delete. In the hot waters surrounding Juan de Fuca Ridge in the Pacific Ocean. Okay? Yes, in the hot waters surrounding Juan de Fuca or Juan de Fuca Ridge in the Pacific Ocean, thermophiles ensure the survival of other marine life. What would it primarily lose here? Or should the phrase be kept or deleted? Yes, he's asking, should it be kept or deleted? Yeah, kept because it clarifies that thermophiles live in both the Pacific and Juan de Fuca Ridge. Kept because it provides specific details about the here referred to in the next sentence. The next sentence says here the ocean floor is scarred by blah, blah, blah. Okay, I think this would be the best choice because yes, here he means surrounding Juan de Fuca Ridge, the hot water surrounding. So if I delete this part, the reader will not be able to understand here. Here would refer to what? Would not be understood. So the best answer for 70 is G. All right, let's move on to 71. Here he says, here the ocean floor is scarred by earthquakes and underwater volcanoes. Given that all the choices are true, which one most specifically and vividly describes the underwater terrain? Leave it as it is, no change. There are signs of both seismic and volcanic. The results of earthquakes and volcanic eruptions are evident. The effect of earthquake and volcano. So the four choices talk about earthquakes and volcanoes, but the original one says the ocean floor is scarred by. So there are many earthquakes and underwater volcanoes happening and which had happened there. So the best choice would be no change, A, because it vividly describes the underwater terrain, scarred with. It's better than saying signs or blah, 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 eruptions or apparent. Scarred with gives a vivid description of the underwater bed and so on, or the floor bed. Uh, yeah, moving on to 72. Yeah, all right. Poisonous waters from cracks at temperatures up to 360 degrees Celsius gush in the floor. Yeah. The best replacement for the underlined portion would be where it is now from cracks or um, after the word temperatures, okay, or after the word Celsius or after the word gush. I think after the word gush because uh, if we want to say gush from, meaning come very fast or come, forcibly out of. Okay, so we say gush from cracks. Okay, poisonous water gush from cracks in the ocean floor. If we read like that, it would make perfect sense. Okay, but if we say temperatures from cracks, no. Or if we say Celsius from cracks, no. But gush from cracks, that makes sense. So J is the best answer. Moving on to 73. Uh, psychrophiles live in harsh and uh, inhospitable places on our planet. Given that all the choices are true, which one would least effectively introduce the subject of paragraph 4? Yeah, all right. Least effectively introduce. So let's read it one more time. No change. Live in harsh and inhospitable places on our planet. According to researchers, the environment of a cold, loving, uh, extremophile or psychrophile is as extreme as that of a heat-loving thermophile. Certain extremophiles called psychrophiles thrive in cold environments rather than hot ones. Other types of extremophiles called loving psychrophiles have been found. So I think B and C and D are very good introduction to the next paragraph because it catches your eye. It has a very good description, uh, like of or comparison between psychrophile that thrive in very cold conditions, just as thermophile thrive in very high temperatures. But the one that is least effective it would be psychrophiles live in harsh and inhospitable places. Um, that doesn't attract attention much. So no change is the least one that vividly introduces the paragraph. While B, C, or D vividly introduce the new subject of psychrophiles. Okay, let's move on to 74. Okay, the writer is considering deleting the following clause from the preceding sentence, revising the capitalization. Okay, if life can persist in extreme environments, if life can persist in extreme environments on Earth, yes, should this clause be kept or deleted? Kept because it clarifies or for readers that life in extreme environments may not exist. Kept because it makes the connection between life on Earth and the possibility of life on other planets. Let's read the paragraph quickly. If life can persist in extreme environments on Earth, scientists speculate that life may endure under similar conditions elsewhere, perhaps in frozen seas or exploding volcanoes of Jupiter's moons. Yeah, so I think here G would be the best answer. It's not deleted, but kept because it tells us if uh, certain organisms can flourish and live in extreme cases, just as the thermophiles that live in temperatures way above 150 degrees Celsius or even 300, as we've read in the passage, and others can live in extremely cold conditions, then by comparison, scientists can speculate that probably we have life on Jupiter or Mars or some other planets because the extreme life conditions would not uh, be a reason for such organisms to die since they thrive and flourish on Earth under similar conditions. So the best answer would be G. Okay. So as we know, when we try to answer any ACT English section passage, there are some tactics. Tactics. If we have a choice that is the shortest one and makes sense, this is expected to be the best answer. If we have an answer without any punctuation that makes sense, that is expected to be the best answer. Always leave the questions about the whole passage to the end. There's usually a couple of questions like that. Or if we delete or add this phrase or clause, what would happen? Also leave these kinds of questions to the end, and they actually come near the end of the passage just to save your time. In case you do not know the answer for sure, you would have to do what we call process of elimination. Just try to eliminate the ones that you're sure are wrong choices, and then focus on the three or the two that would be left out, but do not waste your time on something that you are not sure of. If you've tried all your, tactics and still you don't know, you would still have to make a choice. Don't leave any question unanswered. And as I told you before, the best way to get the score that you want on the ACT or IELTS or any other standardized test is to practice. If you practice answering more tests, you would find that things begin to be clearer and easier for you. And good luck for everybody. We will meet in the next one.